Photographer of the Year, let's hear it for Dan Shelley, Shellda Photos.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Shellda Podcast. Technically, it's episode 1 because it's my first guest. Speaking of, I am joined by my great friend, somebody who I met, of course, in the paintball community, Sal Chavez from, where do I start? From the Pro Field, from bfpgear.com, from Dynasty. Sal, how are you today?
I'm doing great, man. That's quite the intro. I like it.
Well, I've always looked at you since I met as one of the most underrated videographers we have in paintball. Your work is so incredible, and I just don't think people realize that it's you out there essentially shooting for Dynasty and of course other top brands.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I feel like paintball needs to be seen by more people, and if you're doing it right, the person who's making it shouldn't matter. They should remember the content, not the person who made it. And I feel like that's a good storytelling ability. If you remember the story, then that's what's important. So I don't know. I like to live in the shadows, man. I'm an introvert. So if you like the stuff I'm creating, fantastic. You can, look past me. I'm all good with it.
So it sounds like you're trying to live the Dark Knight persona on the pro field, the Batman of the media.
Yeah, I'll take that. That sounds pretty cool.
I might have to start. I'm gonna change your contact on my phone to Batman from now on, and I'll update your ringtone
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I like it. I'm Batman.
Yeah, awesome. So we're a few weeks removed from World Cup. Talk to me about your World Cup experience.
I mean, World Cup is a whole nother beast. Like going to a regular event, it's amazing all on its own, but going to a cup, the amount of people, the vendors, I mean, it's really something that everybody who's a paintball fan should be a part of at some time or another. Like just go to the event, even if you're not affiliated with anybody or playing, just go to the event. The energy is amazing. It feels like a real um, sporting event. Like I've gone to basketball games, I've gone to football games, hockey games, and World Cup feels like that. The energy's there. I mean, it's just the stands go from one side to the other. VIP goes from one side to the other. You can hear the cheering on the field. Like that's what a sporting event is supposed to feel like. So for paintball to have that moment, I feel like is absolutely amazing. But Cup, Cup is busy, man. As a media guy, Cup is busy. Sleep is a premium. I mean, from the moment I get off the plane on Tuesday, I am working. I mean, my hours at Cup, I'm up at like 6 o'clock. We're there at first game because I travel with Junior from BFP, and he's a coach with Dynasty. He's one of their assistant coaches. So he's there with Skinny in the stands watching every single point from game one to when they're kicking us out the door. So I show up with him. I'm there filming, doing different things for Dynasty, doing different things for the brand. And then when it's over at 5 or 6, we go home and shower. And then we're at the Dynasty house for a team meeting. And then we do dinner. And then we come home and I have to edit a reel for the next day. And sometimes that puts me going to bed at like midnight, 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then rinse and repeat all 4 or 5 days that we're there. So Cup is a blur for sure.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly for media. It's the same thing, right? Like shooting on for NXL for me, it was 12-hour days. It's from I literally had to be at the field at 6 a.m. in the morning when it was still pitch black. And then you don't get out of there until 6 p.m. like you said. And especially shooting for a team and for a brand, of course, they want their content as soon as possible, especially if it's like a monumental moment or a huge clip that happened. And then I think the small things that we forget about is we have to do laundry too. Like we've got to come with clean gear the next day. So you're right. Those 4 or 5 days at Cup are just a blur. And it's funny you mentioned that because every day on the way back to the Airbnb, my wife asked me like, "Hey, how's the day?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't remember, to be honest, because it's nonstop.
Yeah, my
Um,
son is a huge paintball fan, and I'll get text messages throughout the day of him saying, "Dad, did you see that? Oh my God, I can't believe that happened." And sometimes I'm on the other side of the field and I have no clue what just happened. So
yeah,
when I get home, one of the first things I do is actually pull up Ghost Sports and
yeah,
watch the event because I honestly I know who won, and that's pretty much it. If I didn't film it, I don't know it happened. So
yeah.
I mean, as a fan, I get to experience Cup twice, I guess. Once they're kind of filming the action, and then I get to just be the fan and watch it. So that's what I did last week. My son and I just sat there, and
So
I
cool.
got to watch Cup.
Yeah, that's you're I go through that same exact thing, right? Like we're out there for a job. Granted, it's a crazy job that we love and we probably all do it for free. But you're experiencing World Cup and paintball through a lens sometimes this big. And so you're so focused on shooting something here that you don't know other moves that are happening. And if you hear the crowd, you're focused on your one player, your one shot. So I totally get it. I'll go home and I'll see something, pop off on Instagram or Ghost where it's like, wow, that's what that sound was. That's why the crowd
Hmm.
went crazy over there. So yeah,
Yeah,
I totally
100%.
relate to that.
Yeah, I think that shows like maturity as a photographer or a filmmaker because I'll see like a lot of new people where they're like a step behind the action because they're chasing like reactions.
Mhm.
And the way that I have always described that to people that I've talked to who are getting into the industry is you ever seen like 5, 6, 7 year olds play soccer?
Yeah.
Like they kick the ball and then the whole team just kind of chases the ball. Then they kick it over here and then the whole team and like we need to be mature enough to anticipate or be disciplined enough
Yes.
to stay on the person that we're filming so we get the payoff. So if I could offer any of advice, when you start to mature as a filmmaker or a photographer, you'll realize like this moment in front of me is the most important moment right now, and to capture that is our job. There's other photographers who will get that. There's other filmmakers who will get that what's happening over there.
Yeah.
But my job is to capture this. So I think that just shows maturity on your end that you're willing to not fall into the hype of what are they cheering about over there, and you just capture this moment in time in front of you. So that's
Yeah.
good.
So I think we can probably end the podcast there because that's a mic drop. That's the best advice that I think you could give anyone in the media. And I get a lot of people that reach out to me like in DMs, like, "Hey, I'm starting out. What would you say, or what gear do I need?" And it doesn't matter. Of course, the gear matters. It's going to change your stuff. But the biggest thing I tell people is anticipation. You've got to anticipate, where players are going. You've got to read body language. You've got to understand the moment and like the magnitude of the moment, whether it's a win or a loss. And I think that's something that I also try to do as well, especially at these huge events where if I know that there's a team that's about to win or lose, I'll start creeping to that side of the field. That way, if they win, they have to run back at me.
Hmm.
And they're going to give me a reaction, or if they lose, you're going to get that sadness. And so it's all about anticipating that moment. So yeah, you are spot on. That's single-handed the best piece of advice you could give anyone in media. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I remember I was sitting with Ryan one time, and he had asked me like, "Man, you get some of the best shots of us," and I said, "Well, I've learned you.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
understand your what you do. I understand how you play. I understand your body language. So like I can tell when you're getting ready to make a fill out to the corner. So I set myself up to get that fill out." And his first response was, "Well, if you know that, then the other team knows that. I need to change something." And I'm just like,
Yeah.
Sure, but no, because I've learned you, and if you want to get good shots, you need to keep doing the same thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, just learn who you're filming. I mean, that's the benefit of following one team for me, right?
Yeah.
I get to pick up on those little details, and it helps that anticipation. But no, you're 100% right. Anticipation, get in front of the action. Sometimes you miss it, and that sucks. And when you get it, it's amazing. So take the
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah, for sure. And I think something else you had mentioned too is a lot of times when you're anticipating shots, all the media is going to go. to whatever that anticipation is, right? And something I've seen that you do is you'll also kind of hover a little bit, and you'll go, if one side of the field has what I call the blue coats, if there's 20 media on one side of the field, I'll see you go to the other side of the field, and you'll be the only person over there. And if something happens over there, now you're the only person that got that moment and got that clip.
Yeah, I mean, the mindset behind that is who needs 5 different video clips or 5 photos of that bunker move? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing to get it, but I mean, if I get it, you get it, 3 other guys get it, then what's the point? We've seen it once, we've seen it 1,000 times. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of a philosophy behind that, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, man, I think you've gotta do something that nobody else is doing. It's easy to sit at the 50 snake and wait for the car crash,
Yeah.
but if you wanna tell a story, you're gonna have to go where it's uncomfortable, and let me tell you, that Dorito side, this event was uncomfortable. I spent way too many points on that side, but, you gotta tell a story, man.
Yeah, you're spot on. I think one of my favorite photos is actually it's kind of blurry, but this Marcelo
Mhm.
one right here, from Florida last year. All of the media was in the front of him, and I was like, I'm gonna go stand in the back, and like I got that kind of fist in the air, and
Mhm.
it for me it was just such an iconic moment because I'm the only one that got that. Everyone
100%,
else
yeah.
has the same exact other shot, and then when that happens, like when you get that car crash, it's all about who can upload it first.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then it's like, well, now it doesn't matter.
Yeah, 100%, and my philosophy is very different than most. I mean, I'm not looking to post immediately. I I wish I could, but that's just not my style. That's not what I'm trying to do when I'm out there. So I don't necessarily rush to get those shots out there. I would rather get a quality shot than the first shot. I would rather have a
Yeah,
story to tell around that shot than to just show the car crash. So
yeah,
I mean, car crashes are amazing. I love the bunkers. I love, when Mouse is yelling at Colt. Like I like all those things when they're happening. But
yeah,
I mean, those are a flash in the pan, man. Most people don't remember those in a couple weeks.
for sure. Yeah, you're spot on. Because we see so much of it, right? It's repetitive. Um,
Yeah.
so when you capture those unique moments that no one else has, that's the moment that sticks forever, and that's what is a powerful moment.
Yeah. And as like
So
because I work with BFP, like I'm not I'm not selling you the car crash, right? We
yeah,
have a field that we need moms to bring their junior high kids to. So if we're posting car crashes, that mom is going to be like, mm not my kid. I'm not taking
yeah,
my kid there. So, when they see like that picture behind you, when they see that moment, moms will say, all right, like that's what I want my kids to experience. That joy,
yeah,
that moment of celebration, that memory. I want that. So it's just my philosophy is just a little different because I'm selling something different. I'm not
yeah,
selling the car crash. I'm selling a memory. I'm selling a moment in time. So it's just different.
yeah. I couldn't agree more. Well said. Yeah, thanks for giving me a recap of Cup. Uh, One of the things that I really want to do on this podcast that I don't really know if any other podcasts really dive into. A lot of folks do, like Ryan and Kyle and Marcelo and Tyler, they do a great job asking about how did you get started in paintball? Like what's your background? Was it a birthday party? I really want to focus on the why. So like why paintball? Why paintball media? And why are you making that choice every week or every few months to go to an event?
Um, I mean, to talk about the why, I kind of have to talk about the how, right?
Of
So
course.
I started playing paintball because it was something that me and my little brother could do together. And we started playing in the early 2000s and we got hooked. Like everybody who does the first time you play paintball, you want to go back the next week and the next week. So um, paintball for me, the reason why I kept doing it was because it was that bonding place for my brother and I.
Yeah.
And as our bond became like brothers to friends and like it just became that thing that I wanted to do because I got to do it with him.
Yeah.
And then I was able to make connections with Junior and Gina, and I consider them now some of my best friends. Like I don't do anything in the paintball world without talking to Junior or Gina first. And um, now I go to the events because of them. You know, like when Junior had a an opportunity to sponsor Dynasty, he called me up and said, "Hey, here's what's in front of me. What are your thoughts?"
Wow.
And I just got to share my thoughts about it. And he was like, "Will you come along for the ride with me and capture
Wow.
them and let's make content together and let's cover them the way that a team like that deserves to be covered." And I was just like, "Let's do it." I couldn't sign up fast enough, right? So now I go to the events because of that relationship. So paintball is
Mhm.
really about relationships for me. It started with the relationship with my brother, and now it continues because of my relationship with Junior and Gina. So
Yeah.
paintball for me is less about the sport and about who I'm doing it with.
Yeah.
And that matters to me. My circle is real small, man.
Yeah.
The contacts in my phone are very few. If you make it in my phone, it's because you mean something to me. So, like, if somebody asks me for something, I 100% will do it. And I remember one of my favorite movies is Tombstone,
Mhm.
and I love Doc Holliday. I mean, I named my dog Doc Holliday. So,
Oh, cool.
um, somebody had asked him in that movie, you know, "Why are you doing this? You're really sick. You shouldn't be doing this. You should be home." And he was like, "Well, my friend asked me to do it, you know?" And he's like, "Well, shoot, Doc, I got a ton of friends." He's like, "I don't." And that's how I feel about this adventure that we're on. Junior asked me for help, and sure, I could be at home. I could be taking my family to Disneyland. I can be
Sure.
doing a ton of different things, but I don't have very many friends. And when my friend asks me for something, I jump on it. So, yeah, why I do this is because of the relationships I've built along the way.
Man, I got chills when you were talking about that. Especially when you said, Junior and Gina, they're just some of the nicest people I've ever met. Not even in the paintball industry, just in my life in general. Um, I yeah, I wish more people knew about them, and I know they do because Junior's pro career early on and the work that they do, but they do so much for the paintball scene behind the scenes that I just wish more people knew about. I I think it's a funny moment last or this first event this year at NXL Las Vegas. They were setting up for the Summit show or the Summit, the wherever they had all the booths set up there. It was all of the like NXL staff, and it was the night Sunday night. I think they were doing it. It was 11:30, 12 o'clock, and who walks in? Gina walks in and just
Hmm.
volunteers her time to help set up booths and just roll up her sleeves. And it's just like,
Hmm.
wow, they do so much for the paintball community. Um, and then, you mentioned your circle's really small. Um, I've always been a person that I mind small, but I've always wanted a bigger circle um, until recently. I think it was until paintball. I'd go to events and everyone's saying hi to people and you start to realize like, oh no, there's a small pocket of people that I consider my people, right?
Hmm.
Um, Ryan Gray's a dear friend of mine, former coach for Diesel and Scalp this year, and he's like one of the first people that I see at an event. I give a giant hug to,
Hmm. Hmm.
and he's like, there's only a few people that I go to events to, and you get a hug, and if you get a hug, you're in my circle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
so,
mean, that support system is super important, especially in a field like this, right? I mean, once people figure out you have a camera, everybody wants something from you. But when you have those people in your life who are there, whether you have a camera or not,
yeah,
that those are the people that are important. So yeah, it's really important to identify those people when
yeah.
you enter an industry like this. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the other thing I wanted to touch on really quick is when you were talking through your why, and you had mentioned that Junior reached out to you and said, "Hey, would you want to go on this journey together with Dynasty?" Like, did you ever think back to like, all right, let me go back to that early 2000s kid who just started playing paintball and probably had Dynasty on your walls and saw him in magazines. And can you imagine if you told that kid like, "Hey, you're gonna be traveling and shooting with the team when you get older"?
yeah, I mean, honestly, I hated Dynasty when I started.
Do they know
I,
that?
yeah,
That's
100%
great.
they know that. That was one of the first things I told Yosh when I started. like connecting with him. Like I grew up in the Central Valley in California. This is excessive country.
Oh
So
yeah,
if you were into paintball, you loved excessive,
yeah,
which meant you hated Dynasty. I mean, that was the whole reason why excessive became a thing, was to take down the dragon. So
yeah,
I didn't want to be a fan of Dynasty. And then I got to know them and it completely changed my life. Like I would tell Yosh, dude, you need to stop. You're making me a fan and I don't want to be a fan. I'm not supposed to like you. And I did. So if I were to tell that kid, hey, one day you're going to be following Dynasty around the pro field, I would have been like, never. But now that I've matured a little bit, yeah, it's a dream come true. And when you get into this, it really does like give you perspective on life. I mean,
yeah.
a quick story if you don't mind. Like,
Sure.
I don't know if we're even supposed to be talking about him right now, but Marcelo, last year was the icon of the year,
Yeah,
and he reached out to me and was like, "Hey, can you put a reel together for me, kind of celebrating this moment? It's a big deal for me, and I kind of want it out there." And he was like, very like, "I'll pay you, I'll do
yeah,
whatever." And I'm like, "Dude, you don't understand. If I worked for the NBA and Steph Curry came up to me and was like, "Hey, can you make something for me?" Who would have turned that down? Who would have said no?
yeah,
Like, it's an honor for me to do this for you. Like, let me just do it. And he tried to pay me. He ended up sending me a jersey, and I'm super thankful for that because my sons, they want me to collect jerseys for them. So I needed a
yeah,
Marcelo jersey, and I got a Marcelo jersey to finish off the whole team. But yeah, man, like to be able to do something like this for people at that level,
yeah.
it really, when you go back and look, you just like mind blown that the opportunities that you have. So yeah, if I were to tell that kid anything, I mean, one, I don't think he would have believed it, and two, I mean, just the journey that I've been on, it's unbelievable, really.
Yeah. So I actually I think you just hit a really important point that I don't know a lot of. I don't want to say a lot of. Some of the media don't prioritize, and what you just said about you want to essentially give back to the sport, and you want to just put content out there because you're passionate about it. That's the number one driver, is the passion.
Yeah,
It's not the dollar,
yeah,
right? If you're out there, hey, how do I make a dollar? How to make a money grab? Um, then your content suffers from it, and then your brand suffers from it. And there's been plenty of other, either pros, Ryan Greenspan, and other media guys who have kind of battled back and forth of like the content game. Like, I'm not gonna sell it. I'm not. You have to pay me for it.
mm,
But then what does that do to the sport as a whole? So I'm really glad you said that, because passion is so important in the sport, and the work shows from it.
yeah. It really is. Like if you're not driven by passion, your content is going to be mediocre. If you're like, it has to be passion driven. Now, don't get me wrong. People deserve to get paid. People deserve
Totally.
to be compensated for sure. Um, but I also believe that that should be a byproduct of what you're doing and not the reason why you're doing it. If you're trying to get paid in paintball, you're in the wrong business. There's just not enough money to go around, which is why I think media is so important, because if more eyes get on our content, then the pie gets bigger. And as the
Yeah.
pie gets bigger, our portion of the pie gets bigger. There's a whole conversation that we could be having right now. I mean, paintball media is just as important in my eyes, and I'm not just saying this because I am paintball media. I i am saying this because, like, I mean, just look at the markets right now. ESPN's coming in. They did a show last year. There's talk that they want to do a show this year. You don't think that they asked Tom, like, I want to see the numbers, the followers of your big market teams?
For
And who did
sure.
they have to go to, right? The big markets are New York, LA, maybe Florida.
Yeah.
Those are the big. There's a ton of people in those areas. So you have to look at the Brooklyn Bears and you have to look at NYX.
Mhm.
They had terrible social media presence, and it's not. I'm not hating on them. That's just, no one really had, outside
Yeah.
of Fit. And I'd like to believe that we did pretty decent on Dynasty, but I mean, Fit's social media presence was unmatched. Thank you, Verbal,
Yeah.
for spreading the gospel there. Um,
It's not
but
even just verbal though. Like, they do their own internal, like with putting
oh,
out their
100%.
products too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they're changing the game, right? They're going to be, as big as like what Infamous is doing with Pro DNA if they keep it going.
For
They're
sure.
really going to have a hand in everything. But you go to the big markets like New York, and it's almost laughable at their social media presence. And you come over to LA, I mean, you have what Infamous. I don't even know if they're LA anymore, but you have Iron Man, and neither team actually plays over there.
Yeah.
But their social media presence were not very good. So like they need help with media because
Yeah.
the big name money is going to come in and want to know what are you doing in these huge markets. And if we're not making content for those teams, or those teams are not helping themselves make content, then those big money market people are never going to come in. So
Yeah.
we really need to help that, which is why like I film for BFP gear, I film for Dynasty. We have Thomas Taylor as one of our sponsored players. I create the content for them, but I'll also send other teams like, hey, we're not going to post this, we're not going to do this, I happen to catch you doing something amazing, here's some footage, please post it, because
Yeah.
I understand that I need your market to do good, I need it to
Hmm.
be amazing, so the pie gets bigger, so then our portion of the pie will get bigger. And there's got to be a little bit of selflessness in that if we're
For
going to
sure.
grow the sport. You know what I mean? Like Nick Sloviak, for example, I sent him a couple reels from Cup. I don't make anything off of him. As a matter of fact, he's a sponsored player by a different company that is a you know
Competitor.
competitor for BFP.
Yeah.
But I also know that Nick is a character in this sport that we have. He's got a ton of eyes. So if I can send him a few things and he posts them and people like it, they're just going to fall in love with paintball. They're going to
Yeah.
want more of paintball, and then they go searching for it, and hopefully they find us. So I think we have to not be afraid to let people shine, even if they're not in our circle. So it comes back to that passion, dude. You have to be driven by passion for this to work.
Yeah, you're spot on. And when you said that, a moment stood out to me from Cup, and it was cool. It was cool to like see you, usually like the really quiet person at these events. I'll never forget it. You walked up to Colt Lucal from Paintball Fit, and you're like, "Hey, like I know we're competitors, like I know we're shooting from competing brands, but like I got this really cool clip of you. I'm not going to use it. Do you want it?" And he was just like, "Wait, what? You're just going to like give it to me?" And like I just remember seeing the look on his face, and it was just such a cool moment of like you're able to now share a moment that he's going to have forever.
Yeah, I mean that's a big moment for them, dude. I
Yeah.
mean that's something that has never happened before. They won Cup as rookies. Like this is a huge moment. So if I can help him capture that moment,
Yeah.
and have that memory be there forever, and he can always go back and remember that moment. I mean, what an honor, right? To be a part of that.
For sure.
And I just think, like I said, man, we have to stop fighting with each other. We need to start working with each other to make this thing happen. As
Yeah.
media, that should be our goal.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Thanks for the explanation on it. I do want to go a little bit deeper into you shooting for Dynasty, even though it wasn't your choice as a kid. But what is it like being the videographer for the team? Because you're around them essentially 24/7 at events. You're at the team meetings. You're one of the only people who essentially get an inside look into the team.
Yeah, it's different. Like I've been around a few teams, I've been around a few huddles, and the way Dynasty approaches the game is just different. I don't know how to explain it. It's just they look at things that nobody would ever look at. They have that experience that just that no one else has, and being able to be the fly on the wall and watch them break down fields and even players, dude. When I'm watching them, they'll this is a couple years ago, so Pat Kraft was going off that first event that you and I met at the Florida's first
Florida.
event
Yeah.
last year. Yeah. He was going off. And Archie and Marcelo and Ryan and Yosh, they just had like a 15-minute breakdown. Here's what he does. Here's what he likes to do. Here's what he hasn't done yet. They broke him down to the point where I was just like, he has no chance. He has no
Wow.
chance. They know exactly what he's going to do and what he's not going to do. I mean, SK and Junior had every play written out from start to finish, and they broke that down and they knew how to win that game. And I've never seen that before. I've always seen like, here's your primary spot, here's your secondary, and
Yeah.
just go play paintball. And Dynasty just they know what's going to happen from buzzer to buzzer. It's ridiculous. It's almost scary to be honest.
For sure.
Um, but I mean, that's like the X's and O's, just being a part of that team. And that's exactly what how I look at it, at least. I mean, they've
Yeah.
made me feel like I am part of the team. Like
Mm.
Blake will come up to me, give me a big hug, ask me about my kids, ask me about my family, ask me about my job, ask me about my health. Yosh will come up to me and like, hey, did you get any of the swag today? Make sure you go over there and get filled up. You're part of the team, and that's what we do for our players. So that's what we're going to do for you. I mean, I have story after story about the times
Yeah.
that those guys have gone the extra mile to make me feel comfortable. Dude, I remember at the Paris practice up in Sacramento, we went out there and filmed them practicing, and Alex brought honey just like from his house. They harvested
Cool.
honey, and he was like, "All right, all the team guys, come get honey. I made this for you." And people walked over and grabbed
Sure.
some, and whatever. And then he walked over and he was like, "Hey, that's you too, man. You're part of the team. Here you go." And
Wow.
just like those little things that they go out of their way to make you feel like you belong here
Yeah.
is amazing. And then I bring my boys to those practices, and they spend time with them, talking about them, asking them like, "Hey," I mean, Blake was like, "Let's go play one-on-one." And my son was
Oh
like,
my
"Are
gosh.
you serious?" He was like, "Yeah, go grab Ryan's gun and we'll go out there and I'll show you some things." And I'm just like, what dad doesn't want this to happen? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So something I'm passionate about, now my kids are passionate
Jeez.
about it. And you have Dynasty. Let me give you some pointers. You want to run some points with us? Like, it's I would almost wanted to push him out of the way. I'm like, when do I get to run points with him? You know
Exactly.
what I
Yeah.
mean? Uh, but you feel like you're part of the team. You really do. And I think that reflects in the content that I make
For
because I
sure.
care about them. I want them to look good. I'm not just meeting a deliverables limit where I told you I'd give you 5 reels, so I'm giving you 5 reels. I look at the team and like, Blake needs more. And Danny didn't get a ton of playing time this time around. So when he took the field, I went and stood on the Dorito side and took the pain to make sure I
Yeah.
got clips of him. So like, I care about these guys, and I think that reflects in the content because I want them to get their shine. So I wish I wish more teams would bring on media people, and they would actually like bring them into the fold and make them part of the team, because I think the content would just be better. I mean, DQ got brought on by Infamous,
Mhm.
and you can tell their content got better. I mean,
Yeah.
he was decked out head to toe in the team's gear, and I'm like, they're treating that situation right,
Yeah.
and that
Totally.
content's going to be amazing because of it. There's no reason why Enrique shouldn't be picked up by a team, and he just takes over their content creation and just allows them to shine, because he'll do that. I mean, he'll 100% do that. So I just think the teams are not approaching it the right way. I think they really need to focus on one media guy for the team and just let that guy be a part of the squad and watch the content go through the roof.
Yeah, you are spot on. I know there were talks about at some point. I don't know if it ever came to fruition, but there were talks about having media on the actual team rosters.
Hmm.
Um, but you're right. I mean, whenever I'm out there, if there's a team that I care about, that I have relationships with, like, I know I'm elevating my game because of that.
Hmm.
Because I have a connection with, whether it's Alex Fragi or somebody from Paintball Fit, like, we have a relationship. And so if they're winning or they're losing, I feel that too. And
Oh,
so, yeah, you're,
100%. 100%. I mean, this is funny. Like, we had a lot of new guys on the pro field and on the media side of things this time
yeah,
around. And I had one of the guys was asking me a question, and I was trying to give him, my advice on the situation. But Dynasty had just lost. And so I looked at him and I was like, dude, you're gonna have to give me a minute. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah,
I feel like I just lost. You don't understand. Like, it isn't
yeah,
just my team lost. Because I feel like I'm part of the team, I just lost. I just lost my chance to win 5 World Cups in a row, right? Like,
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, "You gotta give me a second. I'll help you out. Just give me a minute." Like, I needed to decompress from that moment because I'm just as passionate about what happens on that field as they are because they made me care.
Yeah.
And there are players like that. Like, yeah, is one of those players for me. I mean, he's messaged me, DM'd me on like my kids' birthdays and said, "Hey, tell Big Dog I said happy birthday." And I'm
Wow.
like, I don't owe this guy anything. He don't know me. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But he reaches out. And so when they do things like that for me, I'm just like, no, no, no. I know we don't sponsor Heat. I know we have nothing to do with them. But I'm gonna go out on that field right now because I care about that guy now.
Yeah.
He did something for me that made me feel good, and I want to return the favor because media is my way of saying thank you. A
Sure.
reel is my way of saying thank you. So, I just those relationships, they're important. We have to build them.
Yeah, you're I couldn't agree more. Like I think it all circles back to your why too. It's like it's that passion that you're going
Yeah,
out there, and I think that's been the kind of the theme through everything that you said so far today. Is it all comes from passion, and that's where you're doing your best work, and that's where these relationships are being built as well.
yeah.
So that's awesome. One thing I would love to do, I know we're getting close on time here. I haven't showed you this yet, so I don't even know if you know what's coming next. But one of the things I want to do on these podcasts is break down whether it's a picture or a clip, depending on if it's a photographer or videographer. And I just want to get inside of your mind of what you were thinking when you were shooting this, and then after. What was your process thinking about editing it? So I'm going to pull this up quickly and let it play, and then we'll talk about it after that. All right. So the first time I'm doing this, so hopefully this works.
America! Yes! Dynasty! Kill 3! Yeah! Yep! Here we go! Yep! Yep! Yeah, baby. Come on, fuck yeah. Ultra.
So talk me through that. I mean, specifically when I watched that, I was like, okay, cool. Here's a clip. But then a lot of media guys would stop rolling, and you got him with just so much passion and fire coming off. So like, talk me through that.
So I always record before the buzzer and some after the buzzer. I feel like those after buzzer shots are where the money shots come from. Some of my favorite paintball clips that I've ever filmed aren't even on the field. It's the stuff before and after. So
Same.
I saw Archie walking onto the field and he looked juiced. Like he looked pumped. He
He's
was
got a
you
bounce.
yes, you can tell he was feeling it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, he's gonna do something amazing right now. And on the field, he really didn't. But
Yeah.
he gave us that payoff. And that's what I was saying. Like, this moment is the only moment that matters to me right now. I understand Artie's moving down the snake. I can see Ryan on the Dorito side, moving down the Dorito side. But my world revolves around Archie.
So
So
cool.
I follow him from breakout. And if you see, like, he kind of comes into the clip a little bit, I didn't follow them from the breakout. I
Yep.
anticipated that he was going to play that bunker because I've seen him play that bunker. And I know their calls at this point. So when SK says we're running this play, I know what the bunker names are. So I can
Sure.
anticipate, it helps me anticipate. Um, and so I just knew, like, him and Marcelo and Archie, they work really well together. Their comms are amazing. So I knew I'm going to get a good sound bite. I'm going to get him running down the field. I'm going to get something. So I set up. You remember Cassidy from
Yeah.
HK back in the day?
HK. Yeah.
So Cassidy used to set up his camera and let the people spill into the frame instead of just chasing them. And it was like
Yeah.
another way to capture a breakout that doesn't look like everybody else's. So
Mm,
that's kind of was my motivation there. I knew Archie was going to that bunker, so I set up my camera so they would spill into the frame. So that was my like setup mindset. Then I just stayed on him. He did his thing. He's doing his comms. He's doing his Archie thing. And then afterwards, I could still see and sense that, like, this guy there's something there. And as he starts walking off, he's like, yup, yup, yup. And I'm like, this is Archie's feeling it, man. This is his moment. And he had an amazing tournament.
Oh, for
And it's
sure.
my job to capture that moment to show everybody who's not there. Because on the live stream, it cuts away. You don't hear that. You don't see that.
Yeah.
So this is me showing the paintball community what happens when the live stream stops or
Yeah.
goes to somebody else. So yeah, my mindset for that is capture the moments that no one else can see.
Yeah.
And just anticipate that Archie's feeling it. He's gonna do something. He's gonna give his pound. He's gonna do one of
The
these. He's
one,
doing
yeah.
something right now. I know it. So it's just anticipating who's on your team, who you're filming, and holding longer than you probably should.
Yeah.
I mean, I filmed over 8 terabytes of footage this
Oh
tournament.
my goodness.
And a lot of that isn't even field stuff. It's because I know there's a payoff coming and I'm gonna film it. And you can always delete it or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just holding a shot longer than it should be. The magic is there. I mean,
Yeah.
we've all seen bunkers. We've all seen, coast to coast shots. We've all seen that. But how many people get to see that moment where Archie's feeling it? And you get to capture that. So just anticipate, man. Know your clients.
Yeah. Ah, gosh, I love that so much. And I think, I'm sure you've heard of Peter McKinnon, like one of the, photographer, videographers on YouTube. He said that a long time ago. And like one of his earlier videos is, take more photos or take more, video than you think you need. Which is essentially what you're saying is hold that shot for longer, start it earlier and hold it longer because that's when the magic
Yeah.
happens.
I work for a school district. That's what pays my bills. And I get brought into like photography classes and videography classes often because
Yeah.
I'm, creating content for the whole district. So they bring me in as like the industry professional and I get to kind of like
Wow.
teach little lessons here or there. And we did a workshop recently and it was just a photography workshop. We went out around the site, took some pictures of what was going on campus, got in some classrooms, whatever. And when it was done, I looked at the entire classroom. I was like, okay, throw out how many photos you took. And one kid was like 30. Another kid was like, man, that's a lot. I only took 15. And another kid was like, well, I took 50. That's a lot. And I'm like, I took 1,200 pictures. And they were like, why? And I'm like, well, one, I have it on burst. So every time I, snap, it's taking 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
But I'm taking pictures of like when they're walking away. I'm taking pictures of as
Yeah.
they come up to us. I'm taking pictures, very, very different style pictures. And maybe I throw away, 1,000 of them. That
Yeah.
still gives me 200 photos to go off of versus you better hope you sniped those shots and got all 15. You know what I mean? That were
Yeah.
bangers. So yeah, I agree. Peter McKinnon is somebody that really taught me just on his YouTube channel and taught me most of what I know when it comes to filmmaking or being a photographer. And I remember that video. I can tell you which one it is.
Yeah.
He said it and I live by it, man. It's
Same.
100% true. Film way before you think you need to, way after you think you need to, and take more photos than you think you need.
Yeah, same. I get the same thing from people when they ask me, how many photos I take. And yeah, I mean, I think World Cup, I came away with somewhere close to 30 or 40,000 photos. And I edit every single one of them. I don't keep obviously 90% of them. But I think every day I'm close to 4,000 to 5,000 photos. And it's just taking more than what I think. And you're spot on. I step back and I get people walking to and from. And sometimes those are my favorite shots because that's where you see emotion. So yeah, I love that. I love that we're kind of on the same mind and that we connected on that Peter McKinnon video.
Oh, 100%, man. I wish I went to film school, but honestly,
Yeah,
I went to the University of YouTube, and
exactly. Yeah.
Peter McKinnon was one of my professors. So
I mean, you have no student loans at that point for YouTube, right?
yeah, for sure. I got kids getting ready to go into college. All that money's got to go to them.
Exactly. Yeah. So I've got one more question for you. What's missing from Paintball Media?
That collaboration.
The collaboration.
100%. It's collaboration. I feel like too many of us are competing against each other, and I get it. I completely get it. HK's only got so many spots. Everybody wants one. Lux has so many spots and everybody wants one. GI has so many spots and everybody wants one. So, I mean, we are competing against each other, sure, but that's not healthy for the sport. I mean, look
Yeah.
at what we did at Cup, right? I could have been on the field filming another set, getting bangers for Instagram or whatever, but instead I decided I'm going to film you
Yeah.
and you're just going to talk through what you're doing. So that slowed us both down. That was a game that I couldn't film and you had to slow down because you had to talk through your
Yeah.
process. So you were paying attention to what's on your camera, paying attention to what you're doing. It slowed us both down. That's not
Yeah.
good for our pocketbook. That's not good for our wallets, our bank accounts. But we both decided that we're going to sacrifice this game. Yeah, we got usable content out of it, but essentially we had to say we're going to sacrifice this because I want you to get shine and you want me to get shine. So we're going to do this together. And I honestly don't feel like there's enough of that. And
Yeah.
I think most people want to get paid and they should. Pay your media people. Teams, if you're
Yes.
watching this, pay your media guys. They are worth it.
Yeah.
Whatever they're getting paid, they should be paid more. But if we don't work together, they'll see that and they'll take
Yes.
advantage of that. You know what I mean?
Totally.
If I'm going to do something for $1,000 and you'll do something for 500, they're going to take you every time.
Yeah,
It
of
doesn't
course.
matter. So if we can do this thing together more often, I feel like we'll be more united and then we can kind of approach how we get paid. But I just think we need to be on the same page more. I mean, I talked to Alex in the media tent, um, and I told him like, dude, I've got a ton of footage that we're just never going to use. If you want it, I'll send it to you. And he reached out to me, and I told him like, I just need a little bit of time because I'm doing stuff for Dynasty. I mean, since I left Cup, I've made 60 pieces of content. So that's
Holy
reels, that's
smokes.
YouTube videos. We've done like booth videos, the walk around, the event tour, some Champs Club stuff. Like I've made over 60 pieces of content. I think I'm at 62 as of last night.
Wow.
Like that's my priority. I need to make sure that they have a bank to pull from.
Sure.
BFP's got to have a bank to pull from. Once I'm done with that, I'll categorize all of the media I have by team and then send it to Alex. And we told him like, do whatever you want. We don't care. And
Wow.
most people are like, yeah, well, give me some money and I'll hand it over. But
Of course.
like I said, and I've been saying it the whole time, if we can help the pie get bigger, our piece of that pie will get bigger. So I just wish we worked together more, man. I mean, I don't know. Uh, I sometimes I can feel it on the field, like a little bit of that tension
Yeah, totally.
between media guys, and I just wish it wasn't there. I just
Yeah.
wish that we, helped each other and did more. I mean, how awesome would it be for like, and only using Enrique because I'm cool with Enrique. He's
Sure.
not gonna mind. I'm not putting anybody down for this. Like, how cool would it be if like there's a one-on-one, and Enrique looked over at me, I looked over at him. I'm like, I'll cover this, you cover that side, and let's make something together that's amazing
Yeah.
out of this moment. But instead, people will just look at like, I'm gonna do me. If I get something cool, I'll post it. But to be able to team up, I mean, I think that would be amazing. You know who did a good job at that was Rye Guy.
Yeah, for sure. I
He
couldn't
did a
agree
good
more.
job. He had several guys that he was working with, and when they would make those events, those like game videos
Yeah.
of like, here's Dynasty and the Tauntauns from like our perspective, I was like, I'll watch this over the podcast, dude, or the
Yeah.
live stream, because I get to hear the field, I get to see those moments, I get to watch from both sides from a standing perspective, like I'm in the game, and I thought he did that really, really well, and I
Yeah.
wish we had more of that going on.
Yeah, you're preaching. I don't think I could have said it any better. I think you can tell when you're on the pro field who's looking out for each other, because when somebody looks up or sets up for a shot, if they're looking out for you, this happens.
Yeah.
They look over and like, are you good? Like, am I in your shot?
Yeah.
Or they give you kind of a little hand signal, or they go under your camera when you're shooting, not just blatantly walk in front of it. And so
Yeah.
it's those little small things that will add up to that bigger collaboration. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I mean, I reached out to Enrique my first time I ever took the pro field and was like, give me some pointers, dude. I'm nervous. What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And he's like, stay out of everybody's way. You know, don't cross any lanes without making eye contact first. I think we need more of that, man. We need to look out for each other. We need to work more with each other, create content with each other. I mean, we have some amazing people out there, dude. Like, if Enrique doesn't win videographer of the year, I'm gonna burn it down. Like, he deserves every bit of that. And like, we have some amazing. Verbal is amazing. We have amazing people. Get that shot. I don't know his first name,
Carlos,
but like, absolutely amazing content. Like, there's no reason. Fava's amazing. Yosh Design. There's no reason why, if we didn't collaborate more, that we couldn't make something absolutely amazing. So that's what I want, man. I wish we could collaborate more.
Let's work on it together. You know, you got to start somewhere. So we'll see if we can build that collaboration network bigger. And I'm working on getting Enrique on here. So if I can land him, because I think this will be his first podcast he's ever done, we'll for sure talk about that.
Yeah.
So cool. The very last thing that I'm going to do, and you're going to be the first person that gets to experience this. There's another podcast that I thoroughly enjoy. It's a podcast called The Diary of a CEO. And what the host does is he always asks his guest to give him a question that he's going to ask the next guest without knowing who it is. And so it literally could be anything. You know, my next guest, it could be a professional paintball player. It could be someone in media like yourself. Or it could just be, you know, someone working in the pits. So literally whatever question you want, I will ask that next person.
All right. I mean, shoot, if I knew it was Enrique, I got 1,000 questions I want to ask that guy. I need him to teach a master class. But anybody else in the industry? Let's see. I feel like, I mean, I love that why question. I absolutely love the why question. Why paintball? I know you're going to ask that, but I love that question. So I'm going to have to go with, is cereal a soup?
Is cereal a soup? Okay. I like it.
I personally feel like it's more of a chowder, because it's, dairy based, but is cereal a soup? That's a burning question of mine that I need answered.
Done.
Yeah.
I have, you just broke me in all of my, I won't say my age, but in my life, I've never looked at cereal as chowder, so I will never look at it the same from this moment on.
Yeah. I mean, we could have went somewhere serious, but I feel like your questions are good, man. I love it. So I had to throw a curveball in there. Is cereal a soup?
I love it. I hope the next guest is like someone serious and I throw that at him and it'll break him a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully if there's another time, I'd like to tell a story about getting kissed by Oliver Lang. That was something that was pretty amazing that happened to me. And then I got a story about Yosh that I'd like to tell maybe next time. So
okay, we will for sure have you back on. Awesome. Well, Sal, any last words or anything before we part?
Yeah, I think the advice that I want to give to anybody starting out is start building those relationships now. Go out to your local field and film your Division 5 teams, your Division 4 teams, make those connections, grow the sport. I know we all keep saying it, but just make something, man. Just make something. Dylan Fout is somebody that I look up to in this industry, and he has that saying, just keep making things. And I want to echo that. Just get out there and keep making things. That's how we do our part. That's how we grow the sport as media. Don't be afraid to hit upload. Don't be afraid to hit post. Just make something. It's going to be amazing.
Spot on.
And shop at BFP Gear.
There you go. I like it. Yeah, shop at bfpgear.com. Actually, this may go up after Black Friday, unfortunately, but like they've got some crazy Black Friday deals. And I'm sure they'll have stuff going into the holidays too. But
100%. They've got, I don't want to spoil it or anything like that, but since this is coming out afterwards, they've got a full Dynasty jersey set that you can win, signed, including Lang, including Skinny. So shop, get the drip. It's worth it.
I'm gonna need to get something that like what Ryan has, where it's like juicy and like dropping the
Yeah,
juicy, you know.
yeah. 100%.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sal, for being here. It means so much that you were my first guest. You and I have such an incredible relationship, and it's not the same when you're not at events. And so when you said yes to being my first guest, I was like, I couldn't have asked for a better person to be on the show.
Yeah, it's an honor, man. It really is. When I saw you post that you were going to be doing this, I thought, this is going to be good. This is, you're insightful. You're not just doing the basic. I mean, your questions today prove that you're not just tell me how you started, right?
Yeah.
The same old, same old. You're going deeper. You're forcing us to think, and I think that's a good thing. So no, I'm excited to see where this goes.
Cool. I appreciate that. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. If this is your first time, if you're watching on YouTube, please, of course, you know the drill. Hit subscribe, hit like, all the things, share it. And then we'll catch you on the next one for episode 3. We'll talk to you soon.